Hey again everyone, and welcome back to the channel for the next installment in our new figure showcase series, where we'll do a quick review of the latest release I'm adding to my collection and pose the figure up a little bit. So for today's installment, we're continuing on with the Present Toys Good, the Bad, and the Ugly figures, looking at the main antagonist from the movie, the Bad, or Angel Eyes as he's referred to, played by Lee Van Cleef. So again, another exciting figure, a figure that I'm excited to look at and add into the collection. When you think of that movie, you think about all three characters, right? You think about Clint Eastwood, his Blondie figure, his Blondie character, Angel Eyes, and Tuco. So to have a chance to own Angel Eyes is an immediate win in my book. And honestly, that's what pushed me towards picking up the Present Toys version of the figures, and especially of Clint, to have him match the rest of the line. So in the last installment, we talked about my love of this trilogy of movies, so I'll try not to bore you and delve into that again, but we will talk Angel Eyes. Now, Lee Van Cleef had previously played the role of the Colonel in For a Few Dollars More, and that was as much his movie as it was Clint's. And he's actually the character in the final showdown, and in that movie, you do find yourself rooting for him. He is very heroic. So fast forward to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, I think it's a testament to Lee Van Cleef that he's able to make you loathe his character, because even though all three players in the movie are in this gray zone, it's clear to me that Angel Eyes is much more on the villain side of things, and he's trying to profit off of both Blondie and Tuco's luck. Again, all three characters do some messed up things in the movie, but Lee Van Cleef really does play his character as a straight-up villain. So I always find myself cheering at the end of the movie when Clint takes him out. So let's jump into the figure and look at the set we're getting from Present Toys. And it's, again, pretty straightforward. One of the things that becomes obvious off the bat is that Present Toys reused pieces. We'll go through the weapons again, but they're exact duplicates of what we got with Blondie. Key differences here are the bag of gold he comes with, his pipe, which is a nice touch for the character, and his long off-white scarf that he wears. So decent set overall, and also, of course, the stand that states Cunning Killer on it. Not that the figure needs it. So let's take a look at the accessories in further detail. And first up, the hands. Very similar to the Blondie figure. In fact, they're probably identical, although I will give Present Toys credit for at least trying to match the skin tone they gave the figure. So at least there's no jarring differences here, but they're serviceable and fully functional. Also, being softer plastic, so you don't need to worry about the accessory placement as much as you would with the harder molded hands. But nothing earth-shattering. The one negative, and it's clear during the final showdown, one of the fingers on Angel Eye's right hand is actually missing the fingertip. It's 100% clear, and it's not something Present Toys bothered to replicate. So is that a negative? Not hugely, but it's something maybe I'll try to mod up a little bit, maybe. Next up, the rifles, and this is where the third-party mindset rears its ugly head. These are 100% identical to the ones that came with Clint, but thinking back on the movie, I don't actually think that Angel Eyes uses a rifle in the movie. Please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he sticks to the revolver for the most part. Now, if they were trying to recreate the look of the Colonel from A Few Dollars More, he uses a modded revolver there, and the clothes are all completely different. So, unlike the Blondie figure, you can't really quickly transform Angel Eyes into the Colonel. Sorry, I know that was a long aside, but again, rifles look okay overall. Now, the revolvers are also identical to what we got with Blondie, right? But there's another issue here. They're all serviceable, but they're wrong. They're the wrong type. Angel Eye uses a Remington Army in the movie that's silver. So Present Toys did give us that silver revolver, but the front portion is all wrong. So it's definitely an inaccuracy. And it's something you shouldn't be surprised with third party. And look, it's not to say the weapons are poorly done. They're pretty decent, but they're inaccurate. And the most telling part is the silver snake on the handle of the Colt. And the final pieces are all actually pretty nice, starting off with his pipe. And for a small piece, it's actually really well done. And it's one of the things that I always remember about Angel Eyes, so a nice accessory to have. Money bag itself, I'm picturing this more as a diorama piece, since in the movie, Angel Eyes never really makes it to the gold. But it's a nice fabric pouch that's stuffed up to make it look packed. Pretty nice piece. And the final element here is the scarf, which is already knotted up for you. Now, I do feel like compared to the promo shots, the material is a little thicker, so it's a little trickier to work with to get it to drape more naturally on the figure. But now let's get into the sculpt itself. And unlike Blondie, we only get the one which is inclusive of the sculpted hat. While I had some issues with the Clint Eastwood figure, I feel like this looks amazing. It's not 100% there, but it's pretty close. And the hat, while he wears it flatter in the movie, still looks pretty good here. But the detail work on the sculpt and the facial hair is awesome. Even capturing that 5 o'clock shadow. It's not as pronounced maybe as what we see in the movie, but it still gives you that effect. And I really like this. It's a pleasant surprise, and to me, it's clearly Angel Eyes. So I'm glad that they got him right. And I did rewatch the final showdown scene just to see what Angel Eyes looks like at the end, and I think they did a solid effort replicating it. And that frankly translates to the rest of the figure too. I have to give credit to Present Toys here because they did give us a fairly screen accurate overall figure from the movie. From a clothing perspective at least, right? With the vest, although I don't think it was as red in the movie. I could be wrong though. And the shirt I think looks accurate too with the kind of tailoring. But it should be more open at the collar. Thinking more about that final standoff scene, of course. But this being third party, I think the body that was selected here is a different color when compared to the sculpt and the hands. So it makes sense that Present Toys didn't open it up. Jacket looks good, and the belt and gun and the gun belt look incredible. I think the gun belt itself is a work of art here and really impressive because it captures that uniqueness from the movie with the bullets molded onto the front and the offset holster. And the other highlight for me here is the gold watch he has hanging from his vest. Again, accurate to the movie, and it is a metal chain, which is a nice touch. Although there is this longer piece that's hanging, and I don't think that's totally accurate. So just something I might have to fix. So overall thoughts on this second figure in the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly line. Figure itself is actually pretty nice, and that's inclusive of the sculpt. I think overall this looks great, and the work on the clothing, the gun belt, and the likeness is pretty solid. So easily a great rendition of Angel Eyes. What stops this being perfect for me are those inaccuracies we mentioned. The revolver is wrong and some of the color selections on the attire might be off. And because this is third party, the underlying body doesn't match the skin tone for the sculpt and hands, so you can't fully recreate the look from the finale. And like with Blondie, one of my biggest complaints here, the wrist pegs. Now, they're good from an articulation point of view, and swapping out the hands, again, relatively easy, but the joint is extremely unsightly. So when you're posing him, it's a bit of an eyesore, right? It really sticks out. Unlike the Clint figure, though, the sleeves here can be more easily positioned to hide the joints, so to me, that's always a plus. But posability overall is great, and I showed these to my dad, and he was immediately impressed and recognized them all. So if someone who has watched these movies pretty religiously, right, repeatedly, knows who these are off the bat, I think that's a win. So for me, very impressed with this figure, especially for a third-party offering. And look, I wasn't expecting Hot Toys level. That's somewhat unrealistic with this type of figure, but it still holds up remarkably well. So another win in my book. Now, let me know your thoughts on this one. And again, the Tuco review will be going up as soon as well, followed by probably a joint video with all three figures together. So stay tuned. And as always, thanks for watching. And if you are enjoying the content, please consider liking, commenting, or subscribing, and we'll touch base on the next video.